Máxima of the Netherlands, has been a global advocate of financial health. This started on her previous role as the United Nations Secretary General Special Advocate for Financial Inclusion and Development, in which role she worked with financial institutions to ensure that people will have access to their services. Currently, she serves as the United Nations Secretary General Special Advocate for Financial Health, and on this role she works tirelessly to ensure that financial services are available to people around the world so that they are able to manage their finances, to be resilient in situations of crisis, to be able to invest in their future. Professor Máxima.
Thank you very much for joining us. There we go. And a bigger thank you for all you've done to support financial inclusion over really the past 2 decades. And maybe that's where we can start our conversation. Can you please take us through the journey of financial inclusion, what we were 20 years ago and where we are now?
Yeah, well, it all started with microcredit a long time ago in 2005, and we realized, that how important to have credit was, but also not only sort of small enterprises, but also sort of very micro, even sort of, women to make ends meet and to actually make a life for themselves. Also, we realized that they need also insurance and savings. And we started with Melinda Gates' very big program to actually have access to savings. But what we realized is when we were trying to sort of make that actually happen, that people didn't have bank accounts. So this issue of financial access was born. So we need to actually get there before we actually give them the right products for them to juggle on their financial lives. So we started with this issue of access to financial services, which actually became financial inclusion. And when I started was before 2009, less than half the world population had access. And today we're at 82%. So it's been, I would say, a great success story. One that was, of course, aided by technology. But also one that we worked extremely hard in getting everything right, getting the data right, we measured what actually happened in which country, what did not happen in some other countries, getting the digital public infrastructure to work. For example, connectivity. If people don't have phones, they cannot actually have that access. We talk about IDs because otherwise you cannot open an account. We talk about competitivity, cybersecurity, all these issues that actually do that this will actually have an affordable, safe, and really inclusive place. On a second perspective is actually resilience, that you're able to confront any type of shocks. Think about sort of emergency savings, think about insurance products, etc. The third one is to pursue opportunities in the future. Think about a mortgage to be able to buy a house, think about long-term investments, think about pension plans. And the fourth is, and this is a subjective one, and I find extremely important, is your confidence to be able to deal with your own financial life. How confident you are, because financial health is also very linked with great amount of stress and mental well-being of people. And this is a very, very important issue because we are seeing stress in workers, we're seeing stress in families and how children grow up in families when they have financial stress. So this is a very important issue. So financial health as basically as I would say a bedrock of stable consumption, a bedrock for financial stability, macroeconomic financial stability, and of course of personal well-being.
I mean, I'm delighted to hear you say that. I knew there was a reason I was on stage with you. So the last 20 years I have spent, not exclusively, but doing a lot of policy work analyzing how support programs for low-income families help, what they do when they receive financial support. And it is very closely tied to what you just described. Right? So we have found, me and my team, that when you provide financial stability for households, it improves educational outcomes for their kids. It reduces mental health problems for their kids. It's, for some boys, it even reduces physical health problems. It reduces maternal stress. So all of this happens from the transfer of income to help with financial health.
The one thing that it really has an amazing effect is emergency savings. If you help your employers, your clients, have a certain level of emergency savings or a buffer, what we call in the Netherlands, they're going to be less inclined to get into trouble, because with one event that actually happens, an accident or whatever it is, they're going to have a cushion to rely upon. The other very big issue is help people with life events. People do not just get into trouble. Things happen. You have a divorce, your partner dies, or he's sick for a long time. When you see a colleague going through that, think that goes generally hand in hand with a lot of financial, questions and challenges that you could actually help a lot with. So the asking for help is a big question, and why? Because it's a huge taboo in having financial problems. And given that 41% of the world population finds making ends meet very difficult, this is not a very strange case. You just look at your client and you realize what the client needs. And it takes measuring, it takes sort of focus groups, it takes testing things. And obviously from a regulator perspective, we have to also take that stance of that dialogue with the private sector to come up with products that we have never come up before. So I really hope that you take this home back to your companies and say, we can do this differently.
So let me ask you one final question then. You've been doing this for 2 decades. If we look out another decade, if you're willing, and think, okay, a decade from now, what would be the big transformations that would happen in the financial services sector?
I would like to have in every HR department within any company that financial health is one of their big sort of measurements and outcomes. On the financial services, in every marketing department, financial health should be the one thing, because the success of your clients is your own success.
Thank you very much, Your Majesty.
All right, thank you. Nee, maar wat u natuurlijk vertelde, toen ik nog niet zo was. Het was natuurlijk, ik kon zo weer een stap.
Ja, nou, maar ook wel heel mooi dat je wordt inderdaad. Ik heb niet. Ik ben begonnen als hier in Nederland.
Nee, maar een klein beetje ruimte alsjeblieft.
I hope you take financial help over. That would be the biggest present.
Ja, jongens, even een klein beetje ruimte.